future nurses or career changers. I am super pumped to be on here today because I want to talk to you about your resume. So I often get questions from people asking, okay, what should I include in my resume? Do I actually even need to write a cover letter? What should my resume look like? What are some things that my resume should actually have within it? And I love this question, especially for new grad nurses. So this video, we are specifically, or podcast, depending on how you are consuming this content, we are specifically going to be going over what you need, the basis of what you need in order to prepare your resume adequately for your first nursing job. So if you also have been a nurse for 20 years in one area and you're reapplying, some of these tips are going to help you as well. But I'm really focused on those fresh graduates who are just now applying to their very first nursing job and need some help making sure that their resume is with it. So first and foremost, let's talk about your actual college that you're at right now or you're getting ready to graduate from. Do they have any resources to help you with building your resume? A lot of times you can find through the education office or the tutoring office that they do have tips and resume building classes or courses, or like a 30-minute session where you can go and somebody can actually help you build your resume using the information from that school that you went to. So make sure that you go and you check out all of the resources that are available to you, because I guarantee you there's a lot more than you actually thought there were. So I want to go over some of the basics and some of the tips that you need in order to make sure your resume is on point for nursing. So first, I want you to get in that mindset. I want you to think about the fact that you are writing a resume for nothing other than getting your first nursing job. So this isn't just any old job. This isn't just, you're going to throw it out to the wind and hope somebody sees it. You want this particular resume to make sense for nursing. You want everything that's within this resume to be relevant towards the position that you're applying for. Let's first talk about cover letters. Do you need a cover letter? Should you write a cover letter? Is that a thing of the past? What are people doing now? So I'm going to tell you that writing a cover letter is always a great idea. Whether or not the hospital system or the office or whoever it is that is hiring you or interviewing you uses that cover letter is not up to you. That's up to them. But you should be super prepared and just have that cover letter written anyways. In a cover letter, you want to include things like what you are looking for right now in your job hunt and what you expect to learn. So as a new grad nurse, there are specific things that you should be focused on. Things like you are there to gain experience and knowledge, and you have gone through the experience of getting your BSN or your ASN, and now you are ready to use your skill set and your knowledge that you gained while in school to further your growth as a nurse and to become the nurse that you want to become. So for examples of a cover letter, I would totally go online. The internet has hundreds of amazing examples of cover letters. Just make sure that your cover letter is appropriate for where you're at. So if you already have nursing experience, you want to make sure that your cover letter reflects that. And if you don't, make sure that whatever you're saying in your cover letter also reflects that as well, and that you're ready to grow and you are accepting any new challenges that will come your way. Okay, let's get into the meat of the actual resume. So one of the first things that I see happening with a lot of new grads is that they take their resume from when they applied to nursing school and they want to revamp that. And what I'm going to tell you is when you were applying to nursing school, chances are you didn't have a whole ton of healthcare experience to get into nursing school. Some people do, some people don't. I can tell you straight up, I did not, and most of the people that were in my accelerated BSN program didn't actually have a ton of healthcare experience, which is totally okay. So that resume that I used to get into nursing school and that you used to get into nursing school is no longer going to be relevant now that you have mastered your RN degree and you're looking for your first job. So what I would say is start from scratch. You do not need to take that resume and say, okay, I'm going to revamp this or I'm going to edit this. That's not the resume that you want to do that with. So let's start from scratch, okay? Now, a lot of times people will send me their resumes and they're in these confusing templates from Word. Most of the time it's Word where they created their resume, which is totally fine. And they've dropped or copy and pasted their information into this resume template. And a lot of times the template gets messed up and they can't figure out how to reformat it or fix it. And so my suggestion with this is to not actually use a template and use a very simple format that you create on your own. So if you're a part of the new Grad Masterclass, then I sent you my entire resume in Word so that you could see what I did. I used my own formatting. I used my own bullet points. I used my own bolding and underlining and italicizing. I did not use a template. And the biggest reason why is because if I ever want to go back and edit that or add anything to it, a lot of times those templates either don't permit you to do that or you have to understand Word a little bit more in depth in order to make that template work for you. And a lot of the resumes that I've gotten from my new grads in our masterclass have been resumes that were inside templates, and it turns out that a lot of their formatting is all over the place because they weren't able to figure out the exact fonts or exact spacing because of that format that they were using. My biggest suggestion with this is to keep it super simple. A lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, but I really want my resume to stick out. I want people to see my resume and think, oh, this girl, like it's so pretty, it looks so great. Well, what I'm going to tell you is that nursing is extremely professional and extremely clean. And your resume should reflect that. So make it super professional and super clean. Make it something that's very easy to read and for them to find you and the things that you are going to bring to the table super easily. So meaning that the headlines need to be easily read, the fonts need to be easily read, it needs to be understandable, and it needs to be consistent. So if you're going to make all of your headlines bold, make sure they're all bold. If you are going to make all of your bullet points without a period, make sure they don't have periods. And little things like that make your professionalism stick out so much more. Now, when you're graduating nursing school, a lot of times, again, people are like, I don't have anything to put in my resume because I don't have any experience yet. And what I want you to know is that you are applying for a new grad position. And when you are being interviewed for that new grad position, these people know that. They know that you don't have that experience, and that's totally okay. They're not expecting you to have it all, to know it all. So don't get over worried about that or overzealous about that and think I need to just like add some fluffy things in there, or I need to go get a CNA job before I can even apply for my nursing job. That's not the case. It's okay. They are well aware of your experience level, but you need to be able to showcase the experience that you did have while you were in nursing school. We'll get to that in just a second. So let's talk about the different sections that you should have in your resume. So first of all, you need to have almost like your introduction to who you are at the top of your resume with an objective. So the objective is basically a sentence or a summary sentence saying what your resume is for. So your resume is for a specific nursing position, and this may change, so you may have different resumes depending on which position you're applying for, so pay attention to that and make sure that you've printed out the right one. So the first thing that you want at the top of your page is your name, your credentials. So are you a BSN RN? Are you an RN? And then your email address and your phone number at the top of your resume. The next section under that or next to that is going to be your objective. So what is the objective of your resume? Again, if you need help with that, you can always DM me, or in my new grad masterclass, we go over that a ton. Now, the next section below your name and your objective is going to be your education. So here you're going to list the most relevant education to the job you're applying to first, which is going to be your RN degree. So make sure you put the years that you attended school, what your GPA was, and where you went, all in that section. If you have other degrees, you can put that there as well. I highly suggest putting the GPA no matter what. That is my personal preference. Some people say only put the GPA if it's over a 3.5. I don't totally agree with that. Honestly, I'm going to be real with you. Most jobs don't really truly care about what your GPA was before you get hired. They want to know that you passed your NCLEX and that you passed nursing school and you have your degree. If your GPA is a 3.5 or a 3.8, really doesn't make the world of difference where you're working. Okay, so first you have your education section. Then right after your education section, you want to have your license section. Some people include this in their education. That's totally fine. You can make it a separate one, but this is where you would put your license number, the state that you're licensed in. Or if you have multiple states that you're licensed in, you could do it there too. And you could list off the different states that you hold a license, an RN license in. After that, I would put your certifications. So if you're in nursing school right now, you most likely, 100% of the nursing students I've ever met have needed to have their BLS certification. That is a certification you can put there. Some schools do require you to have IV certs, or they require you to have phlebotomy certs. So there you go. You can add that here as well. I get a lot of questions. Oh my gosh, should I go get certified before I get hired in ACLS or in phlebotomy or in something else? And my answer to that is always no. And the reason why is because if the hospital wants you or the unit wants you certified in something, they're going to pay you to get that certification. So don't put up front a ton of money to pay for something that you might not necessarily need, and they'll just buy for you, right? Don't spend your time and money on things that you don't necessarily need right now in order to get ahead. Okay, next thing that you need is clinical experience section. So for those of you that don't have any other experience other than school, that's okay. And this is where you're going to highlight that experience that you did get within your program and be proud of that experience. You went through an entire nursing program. You're awesome. All right, so here's where you're going to put all of the clinicals that you actually participated in. What semesters you participated in them in, which means the year and the months. Then I would put where you did your clinical, so the hospital site, and then the unit type. And here you can also add some of the things that you learned there. So if it was fundamentals, you can put the fundamentals of nursing. If it was a cardiac floor, you could put that you learned EKGs or you learned cardiac health. Let's say you did a clinical for psych. This is where you would put the mental health things that you learned. Maybe you had a patient with schizophrenia and you got really in depth with learning about how to handle certain situations with patients with schizophrenia or whatever it is experience-wise that you got while you were in nursing school. Don't think just because it was a clinical or just because you were in nursing school that experience doesn't matter, because it does. And the fact that you're able to verbalize that experience verbalized through writing in your resume means that you understand you do have experience that you can highlight and you were able to work with patients while you were in nursing school. So use that experience to your advantage. The next section I would have is an experience section. So if you have any work experience, maybe you were a CNA or a nursing assistant or a tech or even a volunteer while you were in nursing school, this is where you would highlight that. You would highlight what you did while you were in nursing school. Now, some of you are going to say, okay, well, I flipped burgers at Burger King while I was in school or before I was in school when I was 15, and that's my work experience. Should I put that there? No, I don't think you should. Now, other people are going to have different opinions on this, but that is not relevant to what you are applying for right now. So if the job experience is not relevant, I would not add it. This is the basis of what your nursing resume should look like. It should be one page with simple formatting, very simple texts and font with bullet points, and don't over dramatize things. Don't say that you did things you didn't do. Also, if you didn't learn a certain skill, don't add it in there. It's okay. A lot of the skills that you might feel like you need, you're going to learn on the job anyway. Just show that you can highlight the experience that you did get when you were in nursing school and that you're able to grow and learn based off of that experience and that base of knowledge that you already received. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful for you in starting your nursing resume. If this is something that you're like, wow, I didn't even know all of this information, or I wish I had more, know that the new Grad Masterclass is open for registration. It does include an Empower 90 journal and me as your mentor to help you through this transition between being a student and becoming an independent nurse. I remember I was in this phase too where I didn't know how to write a resume. I didn't know how to interview or apply for appropriate jobs for me. I also was terrified once I did get onto orientation because I didn't know how to have those conversations with physicians or to be an independent nurse on my own. And so I've created the new Grad Masterclass with you in mind to help you. So if you feel like that's something that could truly help you, head over to my Instagram at LaceyMegan, or you can always email me at theempowerednurses@gmail.com and I will send you the link with all of the information about the new Grad Masterclass. All right. I would love to hear from you. I want to see your resumes. I want to know what other questions you have about resume building. Bye, guys.